We have to be responsible. We have to say hard no's and make decisions that are wise yeses. And sometimes you have to postpone and decide, does it need a hard no or a wise yes? But too frequently, in the past, our commission has said, we have to. No, we don't have to. We do not have to. We can say no. And what that does is benefit the homeowners, because whenever we raise the property taxes, it doesn't mean equally throughout Manhattan everybody is paying. It means property owners are paying more, not all of Manhattan. So the only fair way is to say, how do we promote a Manhattan where people want to come in here, outside sources come in and fund the things that we're doing, fund the debt being driven down. Stop taking out loans, stop taking out bonds, and be responsible with the people of Manhattan's money.
Okay, that finishes the second question. Lucia, this will be the first for you. Let's move away from some of the economic questions. And this is a question related to your view, the vision as a future city commissioner. What is your vision for the future? How can we ensure inclusiveness of race, religion, ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation in the community?
How can we include it?
Ensure inclusiveness.
Okay. Well, I think the City Commission did the right thing by putting in LGBT as a protected class in our human resources, not just for city, but for city employees, but for the entire city of Manhattan. So I'm very proud that we did that. As far as race, I think we're still having a lot of dialogue about it. I think sometimes these are the most difficult issues to discuss. But the beauty of Manhattan is we are having those discussions. I see community events all of the time which have a lot of civil discourse, engagement, respectful dialogue. And that's what makes it great to be here, that we can always have those conversations and be respectful and still get along with each other the next day. But again, I think just look at this commission right now. This is about as diverse as you can get for the candidates that are running. You won't see that, not only in Kansas, but anywhere else in the United States. And our diversity also is with our current commission that we have. You have 3 females, 2 men, and we make a lot of tough decisions every day, but we do it respectfully. So we're doing it by leading by example. And we do this in the community, and we do this in our discussion. As leaders, we have to model it, and when constituents look at you, they will be able to say, I don't always agree with that person, but I think she respects my opinion. Yeah, we don't really get along on this particular issue, but for the most part, she's represented us well. And that's what we want to hear. We want to lead by example. And I see that in Manhattan. Do we have more progress to make? Absolutely. I think we still have a long way to go. But once we recognize some of our own problems, I think, and that's where we're at right now, is recognition and bringing them into the group. And right now, this commission of candidates that you have is an extremely diverse group of people. So I am very proud of that.
I wonder where I am with diversity and how I can speak to it. This is something that maybe the majority of folks don't know about me. I'm very proud of our daughters and their 2 husbands. One daughter's husband, my son-in-law, that I'm proud of, is a Mexican citizen. He's a hard worker. He's proud to be in this country. And I'm telling you this because this is personal to me. Where this is personal is knowing communications is vital to share how important fairness when it comes to any minority group is. I'm a Caucasian male. That's not hard to understand. But I have personal family experience with this. What I think needs to be done in this community, and I think it can be done, maybe not in a big way, but in a personal way, and when I get on the commission, I can be a voice to how important it is. And I think that's what commissioners can do here, is to be leaders in the communication about fairness and equity to everyone. I love my son-in-law. He's a good young man. And I'm proud of him. And I'll communicate to you and anyone else about that. And I want to communicate as a commissioner, we need to be fair to everyone, including my son-in-law.
Okay, two-part question. The first, was asked about the vision. And of course, the way I look at that, you have a lot of comprehensive plans for the city, and that's really the long-term vision. Various citizens groups help build those, and so when you look at the comprehensive plans, whether it be for parks, or Aggieville, or all the future expansion, that's step one. Now also, each year, the city commission has a little retreat, and they do their little vision for the year, and they put a list of goals out. And that's normally a group decision also, because one commissioner doesn't have the vision for the city. It's a team effort. And so you'll see that published. Now, on an individual basis, if you pick up one of my cards in the back, I wrote like 10 little things I'd like to look at for the year. But those are integrated into those other plans. They're not, out in left field doing something completely different. And they're just focused on, some simple things. Like one of my goals actually has to do with the cemeteries, which no one cares about. I want to put green burial plots out there. And of course, that's not something you run for re-election on, green burial plots, but that's all part of it, and so the vision's got a lot of little pieces to it. Now, on the diversity issue, I think for one thing, I'm quite pleased with the results of the city ordinance, on the LGBT issue, the human rights issue, simply because we reached a compromise that I think everyone could live with. And I was quite proud that we were able to do that as a group on the commission, because that was quite contentious the first time I ran for election. That was a hot button topic, and everybody was really hostile towards one another. And we got that resolved, and it doesn't get much better than that. To follow on diversity, I think it's important for the city government to stay in alignment with the state, the county, the federal government, and keep all these things in alignment when it comes to specific policies, ordinances, and laws. That's absolutely vital. And the one thing I'd like to see improvement on is, the statute for the state says the law board should have 3 citizens on it. We only have 2. And what I'd like to see in the future is that we actually put 3 citizens on there, because that will give you more diversity in the law enforcement and the setting policy.
All right, so as far as vision, my vision is lower taxes, less vacancies, and more visitors. That's my vision for Manhattan. As far as inclusiveness, I do appreciate the compromise that came to with the LGBT. I think as it was originally, it wasn't fair, but what happened was the commission got together and they did something that was really good, which was compromise and bring something forward that was good for the people of Manhattan. So I appreciate that, and I'm all for it. As far as encouraging diversity, vote in diversity. That's how you encourage diversity. My mom is white, my dad is black. My older brother is white. I have a brother and a sister who are full black, who are adopted, and I have a brother who's biracial. So I grew up in a little rainbow family. To watch us walk around in Walmart, you wouldn't even know we were related. But in order to encourage that inclusivity, you have to be a good person, elect good people who then demonstrate that. And another portion of inclusivity is age. If you want younger people to be involved, give them responsibility. You have young people up here saying, give me responsibility. So really, it's not about will the young people take responsibility, it's will you include the young people in the decision-making process. Thank you.
Just gonna go ahead and use my red card, because I know I have a lot to say about this topic. So first, on the vision side of it, again, one of the things that I do on a daily basis, I probably read 1 or 2 comprehensive strategic plans a day from different municipalities. And what I'll tell you is, I actually think our comprehensive plan is kind of weak. If you look at where all of our different plans that we have out, whether they be from the chamber, the city, the county, I have a fear that Manhattan lacks an overall vision of where we want to be in 10 years. Go home, pull the comprehensive plan and read some of the goals on it. One of the goals will say, preserve old neighborhoods. What does that mean? How do we track that? How can you hold the commission accountable on that? That's kind of been an overall concern for me, and something that I want to make a little bit more strong. It doesn't mean we have to scrap it and throw it out. It just means I want to put measures in it so you can make sure that the city commission is holding their commitment to you on what we put together with that comprehensive plan. The second part of it on diversity, so this hits home for me. For those of you that don't know, I'm gay. And part of the reason why I'm running is, well, it's a kind of an underlying personal reason. It's just the general fact that I want to be a role model. I distinctly remember the first thoughts I had as I started to realize I was gay, and there was a very big portion of my life that, quite honestly, I would have rather been dead than gay. And I thought that I was never going to grow up and be able to do the things that I wanted to do. And so me just running for office in general is proving to myself that I can do whatever I want to do. And then all of those kids that are going through the same struggles that I went through, they can do the same thing. I mean, my very presence and this whole Canada Commission slate's very presence is and the epitome of diversity, as Yusha was saying. Yeah, it's a very, very personal, big deal for me. And as Kayla mentioned, I was going to bring this up too, I was so excited to see that 3 young people filed to run this year. When we talk about the Vision of Manhattan, a group that constantly gets left out is the 20-somethings in the city, but the 20-somethings are economic drivers of this community. They have to be brought into the process more. We look at the world in a different place, and as we see sales tax numbers start to drop because of competition from online retailers, I have a feeling that a 25-year-old can tell you a lot more about how we combat that problem than maybe someone from another generation. How you create effective public policy is having different viewpoints setting on a commission. That's how we're going to move forward and make this city a great and better place.
I want to touch on vision real quickly, and I want to give you my take on strategic planning. And this comes from experience. A strategic plan will help the vision not just be a vision, but be a reality. In corporate world, this is how strategic planning works. Some of you may know this. You get very talented people in a room for a day and a half to 2 days. They write on these big sticky tablet things. They go on the wall, all these great ideas and concepts that they have. At the end of the second day, those notes get put in a real nice binder that's quickly put on a shelf, never to see the light of day again until a strategic plan is developed for the next year. I do something different with the experiences that I've had. We've actually developed strategic plans that work. When I came to our company, we put those in place and we started them the next day. That's what experience does. I don't just talk strategic planning, I've done it, and I know how successful it can be.
Okay, Brian, I think you've got this, your first up on this question.
Okay.
Because you're running for city commission, what do you believe is the role of the city commissioner?
To be a leader in said direction and be a servant of the public. You can't be a city commissioner and just come into that role with an agenda that you're trying to take on, maybe from a personal or even just a narrow focus. You have to be the commissioner for everyone. That's a hard job. It's a hard job in this community, and it will be, because there's big decisions that have to be made. When you look at making those decisions, you have to take the public's best interest in heart, and everyone's, and I do that every day through something called return on investment. I look at not just that from a financial standpoint, but I look at it from a social standpoint, and that kind of mindset and that problem solving has put me in a position where I can be a commissioner that looks out for all citizens. It may not be the decision that one particular group is appreciative of, but if it's best for all the community, then that's the decision that we have to make. I have experience in doing that, and that's what a commissioner needs to do, and that's what I pledge to you I will do.
Okay, role of the city commissioner, the first thing everybody's got to realize is our system of government. We have a city manager. So city commissioners don't go dig around in the city manager's business. We can fire the city manager. And that's the first thing. I heard a lot of people talk about digging into contracts and digging into different things, and sorry, that's not my lane. If the city manager's not doing it right, then we get rid of them. City commissioner's job is to set overall policy, and that's why I talked the concept of lean management and lean leadership. If we can instill that in the staff, then it takes care of a whole bunch of different things. So the city commissioner is on a different level than getting down into the nuts and bolts and weeds of different things. Commissioner also has to set the example. Like I talk about lean management, you can go back and look the last 6 years, how much money I've spent on travel personally, your tax dollars. And the answer would be almost zero. I went on one trip when I was mayor to the AUSA thing because I was required to go to it. But everything else I pay for myself. If I go to the leadership conference, which is one of my issues, I think that's a huge waste of city money, that the chamber has people go there, and most of the commission goes, and 34 of the staff, and that's outrageous. We should send 2 people. I've gone a couple times, I paid for it myself. So you gotta set the example on the little things. You can't talk lean management if you're not willing to do it yourself. And then lastly, as Brian said, it's all about rational problem solving. And that's a process when you look at things. And rational problem solving is one, investigate the situation, gather all the facts, outline 3 or 4 courses of action that seem viable, and then pick the best one, but then more important, follow through. Once you pick it, you've got to follow it through to see, is it actually accomplishing what you want? And if it's not, then make adjustments en route. And I think if a commissioner does those things, you'll end up getting the service that you deserve.
What I believe the role of a